she said. My ex would have gotten me the suite, she whispered. That's how my honeymoon ended, before the champagne even stopped fizzing in the glass. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just smiled, like some customer service rep who's been insulted one too many times and finally realizes he doesn't get paid enough to care. Let me fix that, I told her, and I did, just not the way she thought I would right now. I'm sitting in seat 2A of a first-class cabin, sipping a 12-year-old scotch, heading home alone. We've been married for 72 hours, and I'm already signing the end credits of something that was supposed to last a lifetime. My name's Ethan Miles, 33, architect, planner, logical thinker. I like clean lines and clear answers. Her name's Qley, 30, marketing executive. Brilliant, funny, ambitious, the kind of woman who walked into a room and everyone noticed. I thought she was my person. I really did. We'd dated 2 years, gone through moving apartments, meeting families, holiday dinners, all the checkpoints of what I thought was real love. Turns out I was just building a structure on sand. We landed in Maui on Sunday. Newly married, tired, happier, at least I was. The resort was breathtaking. White sand, turquoise water, palm trees bowing in the wind like they were blessing our arrival. I'd saved for a year to afford this place. Our room wasn't the presidential villa, but it was a $900 a night oceanfront paradise, with a private balcony and a soaking tub big enough for 2. When I opened the curtains that first morning and saw that endless stretch of blue, I thought, asterisk, this is it. This is the start of forever. Asterisk, but forever lasted 2.5 days. The first 48 hours were off. Qley was quiet, restless in that way where you can feel a storm brewing, even under the sun. She'd scroll through her phone, sigh, delete photos, and mutter, the lighting's off. At dinner, she'd pick at her food, post something half-hearted on Instagram, then delete it an hour later. When I asked what was wrong, she smiled that fake smile, the one that says, "Don't make me say it." I thought maybe it was post-wedding exhaustion, jet lag, the come down after all the chaos. So Tuesday night, I tried to fix it. I ordered a bottle of champagne. Not sparkling wine, had it brought to our balcony just before sunset. The sky turned into a painting, orange bleeding into pink, the sea mirroring it all. "Babe," I said, handing her a glass. "To us, to new beginnings." She smiled faintly. "This is nice, nice." I laughed softly. "This is paradise, Qley. Look at that view." That's when she sighed again. That heavy, world-weary sigh that made my stomach drop. Then she said it. The sentence that changed everything. "I was just talking to Grant before we left," she said, still watching the ocean. Grant, her ex, the one who worked in finance, the one she swore she was completely over. My hand paused mid-air. "Grant?" "Yeah," she said casually. "He mentioned that when he takes women to the islands, he always gets the overwater bungalows, the ones with private plunge pools. He said anything less is tacky, tacky." The word hung in the air like smoke. She must have seen my face because she quickly added, "His words, not mine. I just meant he has great taste, you know. He would have gotten me the suite. He knows what I'm worth." That was the moment I saw the rest of my life flash before me, not in some cinematic way, but in quiet, cold realism. A lifetime of being compared to Grant. A lifetime of never being enough. I didn't shout. I didn't even blink. I just saw it, the truth, laid out plain as day. I set the champagne down, wiped the foam from my hand, and smiled. "You're right," I said softly. "This isn't good enough for you. It's tacky. Let me fix that." Her face lit up instantly. Just like that, all the sulking disappeared. She touched my arm and said, "Really? Oh, Ethan, thank you. I knew you'd understand. I'll go get ready for my spa treatment." "You're the best." I'd pre-booked her a bridal glow package at the resort spa. Little surprise. Now, it was my window. She kissed my cheek, humming as she left the room. I watched her walk away, a white robe swaying behind her like she was floating. She thought she'd won. As soon as the door closed, I got to work. First call, the spa. "Hi," I said, calm and polite. "I'd like to upgrade my wife's treatment to the ultimate indulgence. Yes, the 4-hour one. Add a champagne lunch to charge it to the room. It's a surprise that would buy me time. Next stop, the front desk." "I need to check out," I told them. "My wife will be staying. I'm leaving. Please remove my name from the reservation. Her card is on file." Qley had insisted on using her rewards card for the booking to get the points. She wanted the status. Fine, I'd let her have all of it. The concierge looked confused. "Sir, you're leaving your honeymoon early?" "Correct," I said. "Please make sure all charges after this moment go to her." Then I booked my flight. First class, one-way ticket home. Departure in 2 hours. I could have stayed, fought, tried to salvage the fantasy, but why? You don't rebuild something that's already cracked at the foundation. Sitting in the airport lounge, I called my lawyer, Dan Porter, a friend from college. "Dan, it's Ethan. I need an annulment." Silence. Then, "Ethan, you've been married for 3 days. Exactly, fraud. She's still in love with her ex." "File it." He sighed. "You're serious?" I've never been clearer. When the plane took off, I looked down at the island, the beaches shrinking into a postcard version of what could have been. I took a sip of scotch and let the burn settle in. My phone buzzed on the tray table. I didn't check it. I knew what it would be. Confusion, anger, panic, begging, the playlist of a woman who'd just realized the man she underestimated finally stood up and walked away. For the first time in 2 years, I felt free, not happy, not sad, just free. By the time my feet hit the hardwood floor of my condo, the silence was intoxicating. No bustling resort staff, no sighing spouse, no subtle judgment hiding behind a smile, just the quiet hum of my refrigerator and the faint creak of the floorboards under my shoes. I poured myself another glass of scotch and let it sit on the kitchen counter. I glanced at my phone. No missed calls yet. That would change. Oh, it would change fast. The annulment papers were already waiting in my email. I printed them, neatly stacked on the kitchen island, along with a copy of the deed. The condo was mine. Premarital, fully mine. Everything within these walls belonged to me. She had nothing. The first voicemail came while I was setting down my glass. It was Qley, panic layered thick in her voice. "Ethan, where are you? I just got back to the room and you're not here. This isn't funny." I let it play, smiling faintly. "Oh, this is just the warm-up." The second voicemail was sharper, more frantic. "Okay, Ethan, I'm at the front desk." They said you checked out. You left me here. This is insane. By the third message, she was outright hysterical. You are a dead man. My cards declined. The hotel says I need to pay or they're calling the authorities. Ethan, pick up your phone. I sipped my scotch and leaned back in my chair. Her panic was satisfying, not cruelly so, just validating. I had survived 3 days of subtle manipulations and comparisons, and now she was left to face the consequences of her choices. 2 weeks passed like this. I didn't call, didn't text. Qley had to figure out how to pay the $10,000 hotel bill on her onan, her mother's card. I later learned I could almost imagine her having the most humiliating conversation of her life. Yes, Mum, I'll pay you back. I forgot my credit card has a limit. No, I wasn't joking. She finally got home for days after me. My security system pinged a notification. A cab pulling up, luggage in tow. Her expression was exhausted, red-eyed, defeated. She tried her key repeatedly, cursing under her breath. I watched, quietly amused, as she finally slumped against the door to make a call. Her mother, Diane, arrived 10 minutes later. Diane was all tight smiles and controlled civility. She rang the bell. Ethan, she said, voice clipped, you need to stop this. It's childish. You abandoned my daughter. I smiled. Stop what, Diane? Enjoying the quiet in my own home. She turned purple with frustration. Are you a monster? You left an adult woman, stranded in a foreign country with no money. Stranded, I said, letting the word hang. Qley had her card, a return ticket, and a 5-star resort booking she insisted on. She wasn't stranded, she was inconvenienced. Diane exhaled through her nose, furious. She's embarrassed. Difference, I said. She embarrassed herself by showing me who she really is. 3 days into our marriage, we had a standoff until Diane finally left. Muttering threats, frustrated that her daughter's ego was getting bruised. Then came the next day, noon, a big U-Haul pulled up. Qley stepped out first, looking like she had cried a river, dragging luggage that screamed expensive wedding gifts. Her brother, Brandon, muscular, imposing, clearly there to intimidate me, got out next. I had already moved 12 boxes of her clothes, shoes, and makeup onto the porch. I opened the door and stepped out, coffee in hand. Here's your stuff, Qley. Get it and go. Her tears flared instantly. Ethan, please. I love you. I interrupted. You loved Grant more. She froze. Brandon stepped forward, flexing his jaw. You're a real piece of work. You can't do this. Step off my property line, Brandon. Boxes only, or I call the cops. He shoved me hard. My balance wavered. The first time I realized how quickly calm can turn to chaos. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, making sure my voice was loud and clear. Yes, I need police to my address immediately. 2 individuals trespassing, 1 just assaulted me. The transformation was instant. Brandon went pale. Qley's face froze in horror. You're calling the cops? She's TSTMMERED. Within 5 minutes, 2 patrol cars arrived. The classic what's going on exchange. Qley started crying, trying to play the victim. Officer, he's my husband. He locked me out. He's abusive. I handed over the deed. This is premarital property. Mine. Full stop. She tried to explain, pointing to the sculpture in my living room. Large, abstract piece, called Confluence. That's a wedding gift. She spat. Nope. Premarital. Mine. Created a year before I met her. Part of my portfolio. The officers exchanged looks. Civil matter. Not their problem. They told her to take her boxes and leave. But Qley wasn't done. She rolled down her car window, face twisted in venom. You won't get away with this, Ethan. I will see you in court. I went inside, locking my doors, taking a deep breath. Heart racing, but not from fear. From exhilaration, from clarity. 3 months later, the legal battle began in earnest. Qley hired a Sharka lawyer from a downtown firm. Billboards everywhere, promising get what you deserve. They tried to argue the annulment was invalid, that I had to provide spousal support, and even claimed emotional distress from her 72-hour marriage. They wanted $25,000 for Confluence. An appraisal brought in by their expert. I had to laugh. The rock they were obsessing over, the $25,000 piece, was mostly driftwood with a $40 volcanic rock glued on. Qley had turned a souvenir into a weapon. Barry, my lawyer, handled it all, methodically, calmly, step by step. Every claim, extortion, emotional abuse, spousal support, was dismantled. The judge saw the rock, saw the claims, laughed silently with me. The annulment was granted. All claims denied. Confluence stayed mine. The marriage legally never existed. I threw the rock in the trash. Driftwood looked better without it. The final text came from Diane. You are a devil. You've ruined her. She's in debt. You've financially destroyed her. I replied with one sentence. Grant would have paid the legal fees. Then I blocked them all, and for the first time in weeks, I exhaled fully. Free. The mediation office smelled faintly of coffee and stress. Neutral beige walls, a round wooden table, and the ever-present sense of someone waiting to explode. That was Qley's lawyer, a tall man in a crisp suit with an air of predatory smugness. Think of one of those get what you deserve billboard types, you know the ones. Qley walked in behind him, teary-eyed but sharp as a tack, as if she were about to negotiate a hostile takeover. Her brother Brandon loomed behind her like a shadow of intimidation. I kept my calm. I had to. The past 3 months had taught me that chaos was predictable if you just watched it unfold without flinching. Barry, my lawyer, sat across from me, calm and unreadable. I whispered, ready for the fun part. He smiled faintly. Always. The first order of business, the sculpture. Qley's team made it clear they believed Confluence was the asset, the linchpin for every claim. Spousal support, emotional damages, the works. Their expert, a gallery guy who looked like he'd been born to sniff art and appraise it, nodded seriously at every word Qley said. This piece, he said, gesturing to Confluence, is worth $25,000 based on rarity, artistry, and provenance. It's a significant marital asset. Qley's smirk was triumphant. Finally, a tangible win. I almost laughed. Almost. Barry raised an eyebrow. Mr. Miles, your response? I leaned forward casually and said, the appraisal is incorrect, but I'll let you see for yourselves. I had brought Confluence. The sculpture was 3 feet tall, elegant, twisting forms of reclaimed redwood, beautiful curves, natural lines, artistic, substantial. Qley's eyes sparkled. She thought she'd finally cornered me. I reached down, planted my hand on the base, and with a slow, deliberate twist, pulled the central piece right out. A painted, lumpy, rock the $40 volcanic love stone we bought on a trip a month before the wedding. The room froze. Qley's mouth opened, closed, opened again. What? This, I said, holding it high, is the $25,000 artwork you've been suing me over. I let it sink in. Her lawyer sputtered, stammered. The gallery expert went pale. This isn't art. Qley whispered. Double quote so, it's art, I said, calm. Art is in the story you tell yourselves. The driftwood, the curves, the lines, they're mine. The rock. Your imagination valued it. Barry leaned in, voice dripping with mock sympathy. Your honor, the marriage is clearly fraudulent. My client entered it in good faith. Qley's claims of emotional distress are mitigated by her attempt to force entry into his home and assault him, recorded on video. Her financial claim is based entirely on a fabricated appraisal of a souvenir. Qley's lawyer floundered. Every attempt to save face crashed against Barry's calm logic. The judge's patience was wearing thin. The marriage lasted 3 days. Barry continued. What assets could there possibly be? There is no spousal support. There is no valid claim to the sculpture. It remains Mr. Miles' premarital property. Qley's smirk faltered. But the $25,000, the $25,000 rock. I interrupted. Gone. Trash. Driftwood looks better without it. The judge slammed the gavel. Annulment granted. Marriage voided. Legal fees. All to be paid by the party attempting fraud. I leaned back in my chair, feeling the tension drained from my body. Freedom tasted like scotch and a little sweet vindication. Qley's face was a mixture of disbelief, rage, and humiliation. Her lawyer tried to protest, but the judge cut him off mid-word. You've wasted everyone's time with this nonsense. Case closed. Get out. She stormed out, dragging Brandon behind her. I could hear her muttering about revenge, about the unfairness of it all. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The $25,000 rock was gone, and with it, any leverage she thought she had. Later, I sat in my living room, finally alone. I threw the volcanic rock in the trash, admiring the driftwood. Beautiful lines. Clean, simple, mine. Qley had tried to weaponize fantasy. I had turned it into reality. Then came the final text from Diane, her mother. You are a devil. You've ruined her. She's in debt. Financially destroyed. One typed one reply. Grant would have paid the legal fees. Blocked. All of them. Silence, serenity, freedom. I'd lost the wedding money, the honeymoon, and a couple of months' worth of stress. But I had saved my life. And sometimes that's worth far more than anything else. The days after the courtroom showdown were almost surreal. The apartment, once filled with stress and tension, was quiet again. The city outside moved at its usual frenetic pace, but inside, my world had shrunk down to calm lines of light on hardwood floors, the soft hum of the fridge, and the faint aroma of coffee. I hadn't heard from Qley or her family directly. Not a text, not a call, nothing. I suspected they were nursing their bruised egos, realizing for the first time that life doesn't bend to tantrums and entitled expectations. Then came the updates. Sporadic, indirect, all confirming that karma was quietly, deliciously unfolding. First, the hotel. Qley had to pay the full $10,000 bill herself, after all her attempts to shift responsibility. The resort staff were surprisingly understanding once they saw the paperwork. No authorities were called. No drama escalated further, but Qley had learned the hard way that the world doesn't cater to entitlement. Next, the lawyers. Her shark from downtown. Fired after she realized his fees alone would dwarf anything she could recover from me. She had burned through thousands, trying to claim a $25,000. Rockin' had nothing to show for it. Social media was a delicate battlefield. Qley tried to spin the story, vague posts hinting at betrayal and emotional distress. But there were no specifics, no proof, no leverage. Meanwhile, my friends, those who knew the full story, kept quiet but supportive. No drama leaked beyond our circle. She was left flailing in a vacuum of her own creation. And then there was the art confluence, standing in the corner of my living room. Majestic and serene, it reminded me that my life, my passions, and my boundaries were intact. She had wanted to take it, claim it as hers, weaponize it, but the truth is harder to weaponize than a manufactured fantasy. A week later, Diane, Qley's mother, sent a final text. I didn't reply. You are a devil. You've ruined her. She's in debt, financially destroyed. I blocked her, too. Silence was better than any argument. Silence was peace. In the months that followed, life returned to normal as normal as life gets after a 3-day nightmare masquerading as a marriage. I went back to my routines. Work at the architecture firm, evenings spent carving new sculptures, weekends hiking and reading. My friends joked about the 72-hour honeymoon, but we laughed knowing it was a lesson in clarity, boundaries and self-respect. Every now and then, I'd think back to that first sunset in the resort, the champagne fizzing over my hand, Qley sighing over something that didn't matter. I'd smile, remembering the calm smile I wore, the one that saw the future clearly, the smile that didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't beg, just understood. It wasn't revenge. Not really. It was survival. It was clarity. It was freedom. The volcanic rock, long gone. Driftwood looked better without it. The only thing left standing in my apartment. My life was the work of my hands, my passions, and my choices, mine, untouched. Pure. Qley and her family faded from my life, like storm clouds finally dissipating. No phone calls, no threats, no legal harassment, just quiet, and for the first time in months, I could breathe fully. I poured myself a scotch, raised it slightly to the empty room, and said softly to myself, freedom tastes better than a honeymoon ever could. The city outside continued its relentless hum. Inside, I finally felt at home.